Well, today, the talk has a question for you. Are you contagious? Now, that's not an unusual question for this time of the year when we had the flu and colds and even COVID still moving about the environment. And we thank everyone who experienced a contagious bodily illness for staying home until they felt better or tested negative. And yet, what about the other contagious illnesses? Not the body ones, but the ones of the mind and perhaps of the heart. Are you spreading those illnesses, and or are you vulnerable to being infected? Yes, America is deeply divided, or so it seems. And sometimes, to make ourselves feel better or less alone, we want to pronounce some actual fact or action, or some proposed fact or action, or even a rumor, as the worst or the end of what we value or love. And in getting someone else as upset as us, nothing much has happened except that now two people are feeling upset at best, or feeling terrorized at worst. And you might not feel so alone in that moment, but I can guarantee you that you do not feel empowered, or strong, or courageous, or resilient. Most likely, the other person meeting your feeling with a similar feeling has just convinced you that you are correct, and you should be very, very afraid, overwhelmed, and depressed. What you love or value will be destroyed. The end is near. And those who are the other, whoever appear to be threatening what you love and value, are horrible people without redemption and are so strong that you cannot overcome them. Does anyone know what Tuesday, February 4th is? It's Rosa Parks' day. It's her birthday. It's a day when we celebrate, when we honor her courage, her strength, and resiliency. On December 1st, 1955, after a long day of work, she boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She took her seat in what was called the colored section, and she rode the Cleveland Avenue bus home. And as she did, the bus began to fill up. Well, the Montgomery City Ordinance allowed bus drivers to assign seating. However, it did not permit them to demand passengers to give up their seats. Despite this, the bus drivers customarily required black passengers to give up their seats to white passengers when that public transportation became full. Well, when the bus driver asked Rosa Parks to give up her seat, she said no. Police were called in, she was arrested, and what followed, of course, is civil rights history. On December 5th, 1955, the courts found Rosa Parks guilty of violating the city ordinance and fined her $10 plus a court fee. Now, African American leaders, including Martin Luther King Jr., organized the Montgomery bus boycott for the day of Rosa Parks' trial. The boycott succeeded, lasted several months. This act of defiance elevated this Montgomery, Alabama seamstress into a pivotal symbol in American civil rights movement. Later, she was honored by the U.S. Congress as the First Lady of Civil Rights and the mother of the freedom movement. So what contagion did she spread? How did she use her words in addition to that famous no? One quote from her is, "I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes the fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear." She also said, "There were times when it would have been easy to fall apart or go in a different direction, but somehow I felt that if I took just one more step, someone would come along to join me." Yeah. Rosa Parks knew that she was, or could be, contagious, and she was certain of what she wanted others to catch. She showed how to overcome, how to rise up in her individual and collective power. And in turn, she started a whole new way of resisting and overcoming. Now, last week, Reverend Kathleen asked you to consider some new dance steps to the Song of Life. She reminded you of your 12 spiritual powers that it could assist you in trying out some new dance steps and perhaps even a whole new dance routine. Now, I think I know what some of you might be thinking right now, probably screaming at me in your head. But Reverend Christine, what is going on is horrible. It is. It's cruel, vindictive, harmful. And those who want it are not thinking about the greater good, the good of everyone. And I have a right to my feeling. I feel scared, threatened, vulnerable. And my reply to you is, you're right. You're right, I agree. But my reply continues. Although I understand, are you helping or hindering? Are you helping or hindering? Harriet Tubman said, "God's time of emancipation is always near. He set the North Star in the heavens. He gave me the strength in my limbs. He meant I should be free." Your opinion of the facts or situation and your feelings may very well be justified, but are they setting you free or are they keeping you in bondage? Believe me, I understand the urge to raise the alarm, to complain and condemn, to be angry and to spread my thoughts and emotions. I've done it. I've done it one-on-one. I've done it in a group. I've done it on social media. I've done it. And yet others did agree, but the only thing that happened was that I began to feel that our country was doomed. And that is a rabbit hole not worth falling into. So what do I do? What did I do? I hit the pause button. I began my day with an intention. I spent extra time in prayer and silence. And I only read the headlines so I could be marginally informed. And I watched and read those things that fed me, fed my soul, empowered me. I had to stop watching TV news, even PBS and BBC. It's only in the last week or so that I'm back to watching some news. I needed that break. I needed the silence to remember. The silence to remember who I am. I am divine. I am the light in the world. So I saw this cartoon, and it's two people. And one person is saying, "Oh, I am so depressed. I feel so overwhelmed. I am so stuck. I don't feel I can do anything." And the other friend said, "Have you eaten anything healthy today?" "No." "Well, have you left your home, gone out for a walk or something?" "No." "Well, have you cleaned up your apartment or your home or did laundry?" "No." "Have you read anything uplifting and empowering?" "No." "Did you even think of taking a nap?" I ask you this week to love yourself and our country enough to hit the pause button and get centered in your truth, and then do something, even if it's a nap. Well, you know what else I discovered by hitting that pause button? I didn't miss out on any major news items, and everything went on just fine without me. Only one thing changed, and that was me. Now I'm stronger. I feel like I've been inoculated. I'm ready to take some action, join some groups. I'm ready to creatively and lovingly overcome. Thank you, Rosa Parks. We talk about that long road from our mind, our brain, to our heart. But what about the next long road? To our words and our actions. From the moment we could talk, we understood the power of words, the power to get attention, the power to get fed, the power to hurt, to love, to obey, to disobey. There is power in our words. Our words also make impressions on our conscious and subconscious minds. And these impressions stay long after our words might be forgotten. And they often shape the quality of our thinking and our actions. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore wrote about the power of our words. In his book, Revealing Word, he writes, "Words are the vehicles through which ideas make themselves expressed." In Dynamics for Living, a book about his talks, he says, "Every word we speak goes forth from our mouth charged with atomic energies. Our mind determines the character of our words. What the mind determines, the mouth obediently utters. Its words are loaded with constructive or destructive electrons, all mathematically arranged to build up or to blow up ourselves, our aims, and our ideals." So, are we building up or are we blowing up? Are we spreading more hatred, anger, and depression? Or are we using our creative power of the word to help ourselves and others, to creatively rise up, to be empowered, to have the strength to stand in our truth. When we creatively and lovingly use our words, we are more likely to not only be aligned with others, but with the divine. And when that happens, the positive energy in our words doesn't just increase from 1 to 2. No, it multiplies. Our words filled with positive energy can be contagious. Kindness can be contagious. Love is contagious. Community is contagious. Your positive, empowering words can be a vehicle for change, creating connection, strength, courage, and faith. At times, it can feel like noise as it disrupts the status quo. And that is when words change what we think we know. When we come together, we create an energy that is stronger and wiser than what we can create alone. Together, we become stronger, more effective, more resilient as we weave our voices, intentions, and energies into a collective song that we can even dance to. We are all in this together, even those we don't like, don't trust. Desmond Tutu said, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." And while it may seem like the world or the government or a politician is against you, nothing can control you unless you decide it has that power. How many others on that same bus as Rosa Parks gave up their seat, thinking, well, what can I do? I got to do it. And yet, I bet when they went home that night, they bitterly complained about it. What were they spreading? Not Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks decided that no one had power over her. No one and nothing could diminish her spiritual identity, who she truly was, and her faith kept her strong as she said no. And in using the power of her word, she created a movement and a better world. Her courage, her strength, and her love was all put into one word that was incredibly contagious. Now, I want to leave you with a poem. Okay, I know. I like poems. And this is a poem that's called Because by Watola Tromer. So I can't save the world. Can't save myself. Can't wrap my arms around every frightened child. Can't foster peace among all nations. Can't bring love to all who feel unloved. So I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, well, I'll practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed the hungry. And sometimes daunted by a task too big, I ask myself, what's the use in trying? But today, the invitation is clear to be ridiculously courageous in love, to open a heart like a lilac in May, knowing it may freeze, that freeze is possible, and yet opening anyway. To take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling over my own exuberance. And yet, to feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open. To love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. And my own postscript right now is, because it does. Namaste.